Thanks everyone for coming. Had I known that those notes were actually going to be read on you at LinkedIn, like when I was writing them, I probably wouldn't have made them so serious. But
I actually told him that I was going to read these. Oh, sure.
No. But I'd forgotten how serious.
Oh, yeah, it was serious.
No. In all seriousness, obviously, when I'm addressing myself to any company around accessibility, you know, you want to be factual, respectful, but also kind of bringing home the point. Thanks, Oliver, for setting this up. I'm really here as a real user of LinkedIn. I've been using it since 2006. I'm a big social media guy. I use a bunch of different stuff, Twitter and Facebook and all those other things. But LinkedIn is particularly important to me professionally, especially in accessibility, because, and you all know, because you work here, the importance of what LinkedIn can do in terms of brand and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm definitely a fan of LinkedIn, and when I had the opportunity to be up in this area, it caused the opportunity for me to reach out and see if there was some interest in me coming in to speak about screen readers and stuff like that, and here we are. So thanks for that. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background from me. So I'm here from Toronto. And I know some of you didn't look at my LinkedIn profile because I looked at the who looked at this profile. I won't call anyone out, but for those of you who didn't, I've been blind basically since I was born. I'm older than I look. It's the Asian thing. I have to carry my passport when I go to bars because I get carded and all that kind of stuff. But I'm 38 years old, so that means that I have actually seen the technology evolve over time. When I was in grade school, I was quote-unquote mainstreamed in grade 2. I had to learn how to type because obviously teachers aren't going to be able to read that. So back then, I was learning how to type. Who would have known I'd be needing to do that for keyboarding, right? Yeah. That wasn't even staged. So I had to learn how to type, and then I got to see all of these new things that they were coming around. I had like a Braille computer when I was in early school, and then first I went through all the electric typewriters. You guys, none of you were probably born when those were around. But I started with a manual, then an electric, and it was a big revolution when there was a correcting cartridge. So I didn't have to have someone use liquid paper to blotch out things so I could retype. And so I tell you that only to let you know that I kind of grew up as that stuff moved along, and I will never admit to it except in places like this. I am a bit of a geek, so I had the Commodore 64 with the tape recorder, and I was writing games in BASIC and doing all that stuff, and there were no screen readers, right? So I'd have my cousins and other people have to check my stuff as I was playing around and things like that. The first time I actually used a computer that could talk was an Apple IIc back in grade 6. And they had this neat idea of teaching the blind guy logo. So I used to make the mouse, the turtle, instead of doing like the regular squares, the FT40, RT90, I would like make these weird shapes, and the teacher would be like, well, what are they going to say, right? I'm blind, so they're not going to say that's not a square. So there was a lot of that kind of stuff. But fast forward today, and I'm not wearing any official hat while I'm here, but just to let you all know, as Vinay and Oliver alluded to, I do work in accessibility. That wasn't my chosen profession. I actually have a master's degree in educational technology, and I worked in the e-learning space for a number of years. But I was always obviously interested in accessibility because I'm an end user and beneficiary of it. And I was a project manager for 5 years. I quit that with no job waiting for me to figure out the next step. And then people started hassling me to say go into accessibility full time. And now I work for the Royal Bank of Canada, which is Canada's largest bank. And I sit on a team of 6, and all we do is accessibility. So I'm at home with all of you folks because I am typically found sitting in meetings either with project managers or with developers or with UI people who are explaining to me wireframes. And I'm like, so what happens when this happens? And it's kind of fun because they're like, hey, how do I describe it? But so that kind of hopefully let you know that there's a little bit of credibility behind the jokes and the smiles, and we're gonna have fun here. I'm here, like I said before, because I am a user of LinkedIn, and as I was saying to Oliver the day before you all got here, I get that there's so many opportunities to make LinkedIn, once it's accessible. There is a really big unemployment rate among folks with disabilities. It's very high. And because everyone without disabilities, who is anybody and who's smart, has a LinkedIn account, I say people with disabilities should likewise and should be able to do all those things about looking for work, or at least being able to be found on LinkedIn. There is that kind of part of it. But I'm not going to be standing here and preaching about inclusion and all that. That's for someone else to do. I'm here to walk you through some of the transactions that I use typically to show you what I know are some accessibility problems, and frankly, to ask you folks what might be happening, because I know from my seeing friends that there's stuff happening on the screen that I actually don't even know is there or is going on. Like, for example, if you roll over with the mouse on certain things, stuff happens. And of course, because I'm using a keyboard, and because there are no keyboard equivalents that I know of for some of that interaction, I'm just going around blindly thinking what I see is what I get, right? So before I go into the whole screen, because we're going to focus here on screen readers, but I wouldn't be doing my kind of due diligence as an accessibility guy to at least first mention that obviously there's more than just blind people who are going to be using your websites. In fact, blind people make up the smallest group whenever you look at stats on people with disabilities. However, we happen to be the most complex to accommodate because everything's visual and you can't see. So that's why there's so much focus on blindness. But just really quickly, and I did prepare a slide deck, there's folks, the larger group are people with low vision. And those are people, if you think about it, those people could be anyone who's legally blind and who I jealously say can drive without getting in trouble, but then it goes up in ranges, right? You have people who have to magnify the screen up to 18 times in order to use it. So when you're thinking about designing your screens, you're going to think about people with lower vision and how that might impact them. Let me stop for a second. I go all over the place, but let me stop first now by saying anything I talk about here, we're obviously not going to cover everything. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or otherwise. I've got my business card too, and we can talk more in depth because we're going to have a focus here. So I said that, and then let me go back to the low vision piece. So think about that. You also have the aging population too. People who are colorblind, now that's a group that people don't automatically think of as people who have a disability. But people who are colorblind, so obviously you're not going to want to use color alone, and you're going to want to watch for your sufficient foreground and background color contrast. And there's definitely tools out there, free tools that you can use to check pages to see how the contrast works and how it looks and all that good stuff. People who are deaf or hard of hearing, hearing impaired, I know that you folks post videos. I always see on Twitter, oh, so-and-so did a talk, go check this out, or there's a live something or other. But certainly think about captions, think about transcripts, think about how you can make sure that people who are deaf or hard of hearing can participate and benefit from all the good stuff, the content that you folks have. People with cognitive disabilities, that's a new and emerging area. It's been mainly the domain of usability, but certainly busy screens, and cognitive disabilities encompasses a lot. People with different learning disabilities, but certainly the idea of the busy screen is what throws them off. So certainly with the latest web content accessibility guidelines, there's been a push to recognize and to try and address cognitive disabilities. I'm missing anyone here. People with mobility disabilities, so again, they're not using the mouse either. They're using typically things like Dragon. They might be using other devices that emulate the keyboard. So again, this would be the same message for blind people. And you'll see this and hear me talk about this as we go along, but if you've got a widget or something that you know you can't use with the keyboard to interact with, then that's something that I can't use, and that's something that people with mobility impairments aren't using either.
Jennison, can you explain that, Dragon?
Oh, Dragon Naturally Speaking? That's a voice recognition software that people, it's funny because it's used by a lot of people now, but mainly people who can't use their hands, they can dictate stuff into a microphone and the computer will interact. But for example, if a link it doesn't have a name or a meaningful name on it, or if there's a piece of text or something that's supposed to act like a link but hasn't been coded as such, Dragon will hiccup and won't work. And we'll have an opportunity to see some of that as well. And because I'm blind, and we'll be talking about that, I won't go into that much detail. Obviously, I can't see the screen, and I'm not using the mouse. If I am using the mouse, there's some laughing happening because I'm going all over the place. I'm going to stop for a second because I know I just gave you guys a lot of stuff. Any questions? We good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
No place markers, Mark.
We're going to be using something called JAWS Access to Speech. That's what you're going to be listening to, which is JAWS. JAWS is what I lovingly call not the Microsoft of screen readers. They have the largest market share, and we're kind of tied to them. All major corporations who employ people who are blind use JAWS. And to say JAWS, I mean, there's some pros and cons to it, but it's a very sophisticated screen reader, and basically you can make it do whatever you need to do to make it so that someone who's blind can work in different situations. There's a whole programming language behind it as well, object-oriented programming language. But obviously what we would want is that the coding and all that kind of stuff is what it needs to be so that you don't need to bend JAWS over. Just to give you a sense, JAWS, if I walked and wanted to buy a copy, it's $1,100. So the average blind person is usually getting a copy of JAWS through some sort of government agency or whatnot, and they're, from a versioning perspective, they're stuck essentially with whatever they have because they can't go out and get a new license. They can run the license through whatever they have, but then if they want something higher, then they're going to have to wait or do something in order to get a better version of JAWS. I'll be running JAWS 12 on here. I know I'm going to take some ribbing on this, but there's a method to the madness. I have on this workhorse laptop, I've got Windows XP. And I said, okay, so we'll move on. I have Firefox, and I have my buddy is the lead of accessibility at Firefox at Mozilla. And I said to him, yeah, I'm going to use Firefox 10 for my demo at LinkedIn, and he was all happy. But then as I was prepping for the demo, I was noticing it was too sluggish, and it was going to crash. And so I'm like, I'm going to save myself the stress there, and we'll use IE. And I was saying to Oliver that for the purposes of this demo, it doesn't matter what browser I'm using. If we were sitting down, kind of doing a little more serious look at some of the stuff, I would certainly be using Firefox and all that kind of good stuff. But for the purposes here, you're seeing what an average JAWS user would experience. I guess I should ask you, what kind of timing are we looking at so I can keep an eye on it?
We have...
Oh, because I know people always are curious, they'll watch.
Oh.
Wow.
So we're, and all my sighted friends would love one because in meetings like this one, they want to be able to look at the time. So I'll be looking underneath here to make sure I keep you guys on time. And I know it's busy.
We have it till 4:30.
Okay. All right. Whoa. Okay. All right. So we're gonna push through all this stuff. I'm gonna prioritize what we're gonna look at. And again, stop me, ask questions, or you can hold them and reach out to me, and we can kind of handle things off-site. So what do we want to do first? Let's look at. I'm gonna reload the page. So typically, what happens with me is I'll log into LinkedIn
Left parent. Open.
to see what's going on, and let me. So I have the voice kind of set to slow. I'll let you see how Jennison listens to it after, but let's.
Carry words. Don't not carry first. Control O. Open dialog. Type the internet address of a document or folder, and Internet Explorer will open it for you. And open :@ www period ACE.
Oh, whoop, wrong thing.
Double period LINKEI and period COM. Enter.
We're just gonna listen.
Welcome, Jennison. Vertical bar LinkedIn 1%. 100%. Search same page link. Page has 10 frames, 1 landmark, 31 headings and 321 links. Same page link search. Visited link add connections list end heading level 1 link LinkedIn link account type : business plus. Visited link add connections list end heading level 1 link LinkedIn link account type : business plus list of 9 items visited link home. Link profile visited link contacts visited link groups link jobs jobs.
So a couple of things. So as soon as a web page loads, it gives some semantic information. You guys, I have to say, on the good side, because I'm not here to go like all this stuff is really bad, right? I'm just here to show you facts and how things are. But I have to say that from a semantics perspective, you guys love your headings and things like that. You know what? That's really helpful to me. I'm laughing and joking up here, but it is helpful. But so let's look at a couple of things. So the one thing you need to understand about JAWS. And again, I don't want to get too down and dirty with JAWS, but JAWS, what it does for me as a screen reader user, is it creates a view called a virtual view that allows me to look around the entire screen. Stuff that you as a seeing person can bring focus to, but also stuff that you folks couldn't, like things like text. Because obviously, if I can't bring focus to it, I can't see it. One of the frustrations during this demo is that you might not always know where I am because of this view, and I'm going to try my best to kind of explain where I am. But I know all of you, because you're seeing, you're sighted, you're going to be looking at the screen and go, what is Josh saying? So I'm going to try my best to mitigate that as much as I can. But just suffice it to say,
Alt space menu button size maximize enter.
I've always told when I do these presentations, just always make sure the screen's maximized. So I just did that. But let me show you what I do. So I'm going to use my up and down arrow keys just a little bit to show you how I look at the screen. So I'm going to start at the very top of the screen.
Top of file blank.
Okay, here we go.
Blank. Tab. Alt tab. Leaving menus. Wireless alt tab. Network alt tab. Left parent left. Text left parent to right parent welcome Jennison vertical bar LinkedIn.
Okay, that's my first line.
Text resize monitor frame. Text resize monitor frame end.
So I've always heard this, and I was never sure if there was some sort of widget on the screen or something, or if JAWS is picking up a frame. JAWS sometimes does weird things, and I've seen this behavior elsewhere, where it kind of sees splash frames where there actually aren't any frames that have been coded. So I'll ask you folks, do any of you kind of know what JAWS is picking up?
Text resize monitor frame. Text resize monitor frame end.
Does anyone have any sense as to what that might be? Oh, is that what this is? Okay, so it is reading something correctly then.
So when you have dinner with Victor,
Yeah.
you can ask him about that.
Okay.
Or Nicholas tonight.
Okay.
Ask him about
Okay.
that. Yeah.
List of
I don't know if I'm walking into a culture there, but we'll go with it. So let's keep
text
going.
list of 4 items.
Okay, so JAWS is telling me there's a list that's coming up. So someone's obviously coded this properly. Or maybe not. Sometimes JAWS, again, this is one of the frustrations with JAWS, is because sometimes it tries to be helpful and try to guess things that it sees in the code to try and communicate information to someone like myself. So let's see.
Link Jennison Asuncion.
So it says it's a list.
List of 4 items.
But I'm not hearing either bullets or anything to tell me whether this is an ordered or unordered list.
Link Jennison Asuncion. Same page link skip the content. Same page link search. Visited link add connections. List end.
So that's where that is. Now, are you all kind of seeing where I was? Yeah? So from my perspective, I'm at the top of the screen. Visually, I might be in some left navigation or something like that. But one thing you have to appreciate for blind people is we have no appreciation for any of that. And I always say, when I'm meeting with my UI people, they're like, oh yeah, there's a left frame and there's this. And I'm like, you know, that's great, and let's just make sure it's all accessible. But you have to remember, for a blind person, we're reading left to right, top to bottom, typically. So we don't know our left frame from our right frame unless we actually hear a system coded to say this is the right frame. And I'm like, okay, right frame.
Link. Heading level 1 link LinkedIn.
Oh, first heading.
Link account type : business plus. List of 9 items. Visited link home. Link profile. Visited link contacts. Visited link groups. Link jobs. Link inbox. Link companies.
I wanted to skip over the number of unread messages I have here.
Link inbox 495. Link news. Same page, link more. List end. Search landmark.
Oh, and you have a landmark too.
Find people, jobs, answers, and more. Search for : people.
So here's something interesting. Okay, so this is, again, this is a question to you folks.
Search for :
So it's saying search for, and then I hear,
people. Combo box people 107.
so I heard the word people,
People.
and then I came to a drop-down box. My assumption is that if I'm a mouse user, I might be able to click on that word people. Right now, JAWS is just saying it's the word people, but is that actually a link or something that I'm supposed to be able, if I could use a mouse?
It is a drop-down if you're able to click on it.
Okay.
Search people.
So I am able to get inside the drop-down itself, so let me do that. Actually, let me do this.
But just jump.
Remember I told you folks that, JAWS is really big and it has a bunch of stuff, so we're in kind of under the hood here, and I'm going to change one of the options here.
Level 1. RSF break levels, level 1. Selected read only forms options open, level 2. Auto forms mode dash off, space, auto read only expand, close, menu. Easy, leaving menus, left parent, list of 4 link, save find, people, combo box people.
So I'm going to attempt to interact with this drop down.
Search for : combo box, people. To change the selection, use the arrow keys.
Okay.
It's working.
Now that what you heard, that use your arrow keys to make a selection. That's actually a JAWS tutor message, and that's giving me instructions. So okay, let me see what so I'm gonna hit the down arrow.
Search ... edit, type in text.
We made a selection for you.
Oh,
Yeah. So instead of just going down the list, it shows one of the items.
right. So this is so I knew that would happen, but I wanted to obviously just show you folks, for the average JAWS user, they would be expecting to hear the next thing. So I'm assuming this is some sort of on select, perhaps. So again, and I'm not going to stand here and talk about code level remedies and things. Again, you can speak offline about those types of things. But just to give you a sense, so the average JAWS user would be kind of like, okay, what happens now?
Edit, search ...
Where's the rest of my collections?
combo box
So
up,
just like what I would do
search
if I saw something like that is I would
open list box, search for keyword, company or job title.
So I use kind of one of these, apparently it's not very well known, options in the keyboard land, which is an alt down arrow to open things up. So now I can...
Keyword.
Oh, no, maybe not.
Keyword.
You're not in the combo box anymore.
Oh, did it jump me out again? 'Cause
Yeah.
as far as I know, I was still in the combo box.
You're in the search box now.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you go back.
Search ... edit, type in. Search for : combo box, answers. To change the selection, use the arrow keys.
I thought it was a keyword.
Search ... edit, type in text. Virtual people.
Anyhow, so this is just meant for demonstration purposes. So you see that type of a drop down, however it's been coded, if someone was a keyboard user, so those of you who are interested, go back to your computers, to your desktops, and check that out, and just try using the keyboard alone to get to that particular drop down. Now I will say that you may find that it does work. And in that case, that means that JAWS, in its infinite wisdom, is doing something silly. Screen readers, and so let me backtrack for a second and say that while JAWS is the de facto screen reader, there are a bunch of other ones out there. There's one called NVDA, which is free. So those of you who are interested in actually playing with a screen reader, again, it's called NVDA. And I actually train the developers on how to use it because it's standards compliant and all that kind of good stuff. But I would actually want to go back and test with NVDA also to see if it has the same kind of behavior with that drop down. But I've certainly obviously seen those types of drop downs on other websites where I select one thing and it pops me right out, or it actually ends up refreshing the whole screen. And I'm like, ooh, okay. I was just trying to get down to the third option. So anyhow, so that's one thing that I wanted to point out on this particular piece.
Jennison, how common is it for people using screen readers to make adjustments like you just did, where you went into the...
I would say the average, again, and that's the majority of JAWS users, would use it out of the box.
Okay.
What do I want to do here? I have all these things about different scenarios I want to try. Let's, because of time, let me show you. So remember how Oliver read that note? I wrote those notes, by the way, that wasn't me. But let me show you how I get to the account settings today, because I can't now be based on the current setup. So if I wanted to go to account settings,
Left parent
I figured out this cool workaround that works for me.
search link dash in event link HTTP virtual HT hosted link event link to Jordy Jennison Cruz.
I'm going to cheat a little bit until we get to the actual place where I want to demo. So we can keep things moving. But let me just actually tell you.
Links list of
One of the options in JAWS, which is really cool, is you can bring up a list of links. So long as you folks have coded the link to be a link, JAWS will pick it up. And I say that because I certainly know that there are instances where you're using widgets where you style something to look like a link, but in the code it isn't. So JAWS, in those cases, JAWS won't recognize it as a link. So I wouldn't even know that I could click on it. But just to give you folks a sense that those are the links that JAWS is recognizing on this particular page. So essentially what I need to do to go to
link your group mobile on the open source web 2.0
okay, so I'll go into this group. This is one of the ones I run.
Web 2.0 accessibility forum.
So essentially what I need to do in order to go to account settings, which you all can do from the main page by using your mouse, I need to come here first. So I have to come to any group.
PC cursor. Web 2 list and
then I have to go to
Web 2.0 list web link and heading web link list of set link jobs link man and link more dot link man link list of link updates. Links up, link groups, pro, link groups, that fit list and link group, pro, web version. Link your setting.
I have to come here again. Remember how you folks can access the group, the
page and web, virtual line.
And then I switch to the account.
Web 2 heading, link account type code, list of 9, list, link account settings.
And this is how I get to it.
Account settings, visited link, sign and vertical box.
So. That's how I do it. It's Jennison's workaround. Please fix it. Okay, what else do I want to demo? Let me stop here again. Any questions so far on what you've seen or anything like that? And then by the way, once I'm done showing you a couple of the big things, I want, maybe if you guys want to tell me to try to do something, I can do that as well.
We have one question.
Okay. If you could just say your first name and...
My name is Judy. I remember that when you were first demoing it, you said that there was this list that you didn't know, like it didn't have any list items or anything.
Yeah.
I think that was your account, and under that, it's another combo box.
Right.
But it's listed as a list item, and you can get into your settings.
Oh, really?
Yes. I think so. From the code, I think. I'm looking at it.
Okay. That's